the presidential first address to the Joint House of Congress. And the beautiful thing that I saw that night was in that chamber, okay, above the Speaker of the House, above the Vice President, basically said, "In God we trust." But we really got to talk about it because the American people have spoken. The American people are really starting to understand that a house divided cannot stand. And the Trump administration is actually, doing the job that they've been elected to do. The American people are sitting back on the sidelines and trying to figure out, what's next. But the sad part about it is that our elected officials, because my natural reaction to the video, was that the Democrats, when I say appalled, I was appalled. I was appalled with the Democrats as a registered Democrat, as a write-in candidate this past election, understanding and seeing in plain sight exactly what's going on in the world, and a house divided cannot stand, because the demonstration that the Democrats did on Tuesday, and how embarrassing it was to the American people, how the world is laughing at us, and how the Democratic Party is basically, has created a mass exodus, Okay. And as a registered Democrat, a nonpartisan independent, and as a leader in the community, was basically leading the Black community out of the burning house in which the Dr. King spoke of before his assassination. So now that we are aligning ourselves as nonpartisan independents, and now that we are aligning ourselves with right, we can actually get some things done, because the Trump has been in office not even for 2 months yet, and he is pretty much shaking the ground in which we stand. And we all know that a house built with sand and stick will not stand. So now we are starting to understand and learn how this thing works. So now, as American people, we can actually sit back and make it make sense, and look at that Constitution and understand the Constitution says we the people. So now that our Democratic elected officials have let us down, our Democratic elected officials are pretty much an embarrassment to the American people, because, like I said, this is my reaction to the President Trump's first address of his presidential nomination, as well as a house divided cannot stand. So let's just get into it. Let's just get into it, because if you guys haven't been paying attention, this guy right here is an embarrassment to the American people. And like I said, this guy right here is an embarrassment to the American people. And I don't know why or who he is, but they call him Al Green. Okay. Not Al Green, the singer, but his name is Al Green from the state of Texas, and I believe Dallas. He protested and literally got kicked out of the presidential address. And when he went into the chamber, okay, and he spoke to the news outlets, he basically said that his constituents are scared. And I'm going to let you know that God's people, God did not create the spirit of fear, and we're going to be okay, and we're going to be all right. But if you're speaking to the fear of individuals, then you are pretty much lowballing. You are pretty much, instead of doing what we were taught as individuals, as a Black American raised in America by Americans, they taught us to be, head above shoulders. No matter what the situation is, we are supposed to do it with class, okay, have pride about it, and pretty much when they go low, we go high. But for some strange reason, the Democratic brand has aligned itself with being the opposition of the United States of America. And then when you really understand it and you think about it, the party of slavery is the party of slavery. And this is what is going back to the roots of the party of slavery, because we all know that there was a civil war, and the Democratic Dixiecratic South aligned itself as the party of slavery and departed from the Union to preserve slavery. They departed from the Union to preserve slavery. The Democratic fought against the Union to preserve slavery. And after the Civil War, when they lost, to keep it short, the assassin's bullets changed the trajectory of our lives as we know it. And now it's starting to show, because the party of slavery, in which this man, Al Green, okay, and we're going to burn this bridge, because when I look at this brother right here, he looks like, a prehistoric pimp. And if you did not know, he has a pimp stick, a pimp cane, okay? And he looks like prehistoric man. Darwin came out with evolution. You had the monkeys, and then you had this guy, and now you have us, the Homo sapiens. So I don't know what his thing is, but all I do know is that when you are an elected official here in these United States, you are pretty much doing the job of the individuals that pretty much fund your campaign and put you in office. So now we're starting to realize that this is not the way to go. And there is a mass exodus of the Democratic Party, and the demonstration and the silent test was pretty much put into fruition in the 2024 presidential election, because you do know that over 15 million registered Democrats decided to either vote down ballot or not show up at the polls. And if you want those numbers, it's pretty much 15 million people voted less this time around that supposedly voted for Joseph Robinette Biden. Okay, and we got a bolo out for Joseph Robinette Biden. We got a bolo out for Kamala Harris, and a bolo out for Cory Booker. And if you don't know what a bolo is, be on the lookout, because all of a sudden they just disappeared off the face of the earth. So now you got individuals like this guy. And the sad part about it, that he's playing to the fear of the American people, because he stated when he got kicked out of the address, he went into the tundra or the hallways and spoke to the media, and he said that his people are scared. Okay, why are your people scared? Okay, why your people are not participating in the Come America? And as a black man who's been in America his whole entire life, who studied political science, who is a constitutionalist, I am really excited about the trajectory in the direction that we're going, because finally we are doing what we're supposed to do. Okay. Now, when you look at the polls, majority of the American people supports a large volume of the legislation that was put into play. I know without a shadow of a doubt, nobody on this live or nobody in the comment section has a, disagreement with recognizing male and female. I'm sure no sane American has an issue with born males not participating in female sports. I understand this. So what I'm saying is my job is to bridge the gap between the two sides. This is why I'm not a Republican. This is why I'm not a Democrat. This is why I stand in the gap, because when I read my Bible, okay, it's not doing what would Jesus do? What did he do? He did not come to change the scribe of heresy. He came to fulfill. So my job is to do just that. So shame on you, Al Green, prehistoric pimp with a pimp stick. Okay. This is what this dude is. We don't know what this is, but somehow, some way, he said his people are scared because, Trump is going to get rid of Medicaid. Listen, all of this fraud that's going on in America, all of the wasteful spending, it's not going to hurt or stop checks for American citizens that receive checks, that receive public aid, SNAP, food stamps. It's not going to affect that. The government has gotten too big. And Bill Clinton is on record talking about shrinking government. Ronald Reagan is on record talking about shrinking government. And contrary to popular belief, Barack Hussein Obama was on record. So now we have a president that's in office that's pretty much doing his job and pretty much doing what he was elected for. And that's to make America great again. And when I say again, America was great when the Union defeated the Dixiecratic Democratic South. America was great with the assistance of my ancestors, because I'm alive. Okay. And if you did not know, my name is Bouchon Glover, and over 1,500 Glovers fought in the Civil War. We were bred in the states of North and South Carolina and was enlisted by Ulysses Grant to the Union on the Union side. And we helped defeat the Democratic Dixiecratic South. But due to the assassin's bullet, everything changed. we get a chance in 2025 to hold them accountable, because we are getting these Democrats, and I call them Democrats, these Democratic elected officials, out of the way, and the American people are basically doing their due diligence, and we're stepping up to make sure we do right by the people, because the Constitution says we the people. It does not say we the congressmen, we the senators, but these elected officials on the Democratic side are hired guns for anti-Christ movement, for the anti-American movement, because all of their money is funded through fraud and by foreign nationals whose job is to, dismantle this great country, but not under our watch. And we're going to call it what it is. And I'm going to say Democrats, because demo is a root word for the word demon. Demo is a root word for demonic. Demo is the root word for demoralize. So this party is dead. Dr. King, if you go back to his archives, he pretty much warned us, because he believed that he delivered his people into a burning house, because they knew without shadow of a doubt with the Civil Rights Acts to basically, sign us up with the party. But we just pretty much have black faces in high places, because these black faces do not represent what they supposed to be representing. So shame on you, Al Green, not Love and Happiness Al Green, the singer, but Al Green from Dallas. And I'm going to go ahead and call him the pimp with a pimp stick, because that's what he is. Shame on you. So as American citizens, let's go ahead and get into this today, because Trump's in office, and he pretty much said something profound at the state of the address, the presidential address. Now, you see Democrats on a daily basis. Billionaires got to pay their fair share. See how they're, demonizing billionaires. We have an administration that's in office that understands, and I got to let you and get you to understand that this can't be about racism. This can't be any separatist movement. This is an American movement. Okay, America first. Because there's more poor white people in the United States of America than any, race, creed, or culture. Let's keep that straight. So he understands, and his administration understands. And then the vice president is J.D. Vance from Ohio. They understand that they got to look out for the American people. So if you listen to the media, if you listen to, pimps with pimp sticks and, all of these elected officials that's here to use fear tactics and scare you, okay, they're lying to you. Okay, they're being dishonest. We got to be totally honest and transparent, because when you look at the American people, the white America is the majority. White America, the majority. So you have J.D. Vance sitting right there from Ohio, one of the poorest states for whites. Okay, now you will not hear this on the mainstream media. Want to divide and conquer. A divided house cannot stand. But listen to what he said. And I know you guys who subscribe and who are followers. We're going to hold the Trump administration accountable. We have developed what we call presidential oversight, fight for the average Joe, the working class and the middle class individuals to pretty get to that next level and rise with the tide. And when we talked about, when he got elected or prior to his election, I was the one, slamming the court of public opinion, talking about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security insurance, because that will help the working class and the middle class individuals by a great deal. And when the Democrats say, oh, they're just want to, help their billionaire friends, the Trump administration has promised, if elected, they're going to help everybody. And I'm going to give you his word. So listen to what he said about helping everybody, because we're going to rise with the tide. And I appreciate the Trump administration for pretty much, using some of my videos to pretty much make it make sense, because you heard it here first. And we was the only group or channel or content that was talking about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, and pretty much abolishing payroll taxes. Check this out.
And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody.
Did you hear what he said? To pass tax cuts for everybody. And I'm going to say that again. Everybody, not just billionaires. So stop listening to the demonic Democrats.
They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right.
Come on.
But my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing a big
Think of it. So if the Democrats don't get on board with tax cuts for everybody, we're never going to put a Democrat in again. And I'm telling you, the party is over. Okay. They're going to ride it till the wheels fall off. The party is over. Okay. So he's talking about tax cuts for everybody. You heard him say it, and we're echoing it, and we're going to be potential oversight, and we're going to do what we need to do, because finally in our lifetimes, we're going to bypass these elected officials. We're going to bypass the senators and Congress, and we're going to go straight into the teeth of the whole operation and administration.
favor by telling you that.
Listen to this. Listen.
But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax.
Look at this. How disrespectful this is. And when I look at just the group, it's just a group of people who are not happy, and I can understand. Look at their face. Look at them. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to go there. I want this to be monetized, so I'm going to just keep my personal. But if you just look at their faces, let me see here. There's an Asian, a Palestinian, another Asian Latino. I don't know. I don't know what she is. I don't know what he is. There's a lady right here with the purple hair. I don't know what she is. Trump ended the pronouns. We just going to call her a thing, a person. She's a person, not a place, but a thing. I don't know what. Follow the arrow. He is. I don't know what none of these. These people do not represent the United States. Somehow, some way, they got in office by pretty much selling their souls to some type of donor, some type of organization, so they can actually do what they need to do. So let's go ahead. Let's continue. House divided cannot stand. They're applauding tax breaks for everybody. House divided cannot stand. They're applauding tax breaks for everybody, and the Democrats are just sitting there. Okay, we're going to demonize the Democrats because party over. We're done. You don't represent the people anymore because we are nonpartisan independents. And whoever wants to be president in these United States of America, they're going to have to address the working class and the middle class. A house divided cannot. Listen to what he says. Go, Mexico.
Part of our plan.
Listen.
We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts.
Permanent income tax cuts. That's everybody. It didn't say anything about no rich, wealthy billionaires. And if you don't know, tax break to the rich and wealthy trickles down. It's called the trickle down effect. When they do good, they pass it down to the workers by hiring. They pass down to innovation by investing, and it's good for America. Tax breaks, cuts for everybody. Listen.
All across the board.
All across the board.
Get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation. I'm calling for no tax on tips.
Boom! No tax on tips. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Our job as American citizens, as nonpartisan independents, is to hold him to every word and to bypass the Senate and the Congress, because clearly they do not work for us. They work for their donors.
No tax on overtime and no tax on Social Security benefits.
No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. And I'm not a bot, and I see somebody put their thumb down and call them a racist. But if a racist wants to put more money in American citizens' pockets, if a racist wants to put more money in our retirees from Social Security benefits, and if a racist wants to give tax breaks to everybody, that's not a racist, because the definition of a racist is due process. So I'm going to rewind it just a little bit, because about 100 more people just jumped on, and I need y'all to get this. Let's go.
Permanent income tax cuts all across the board.
All across the board.
And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation.
Come on.
I'm calling for no tax on tips.
No tax on tips. Go.
No tax on overtime.
No tax on overtime. Let's go.
And no tax on social.
Every senior is a recipient of Social Security just got a 20% increase 2 times a month. Think about that. That's racist. Okay. Can't be a racist. When I see Trump, I see a man. That's all I see. Okay. A racist wouldn't do that. A racist will pretty much, hang, lynch you, put you in slavery. Say you can't eat at the same in the same kitchen. Say you can't, you can't go to our schools, you can't go to our colleges, and that's what the Democrats are, and that's who they are, and that's who they will always be. Let's go. Let's go. And look at this. Start by paying your taxes. And this is a Palestinian woman saying this. Okay. Think about it. Rashida Tlaib. This is a Palestinian woman saying that. And it says start by paying your taxes. Okay. See, taxation is a form of slavery because my people, croppers, that was just another form of taxes. But we're not going to get into that. She is gross, and I'm with you on that. Look at her. Look at her. What is she talking about? What is she talking about? Look at her. It is. What is she? Okay, they're the party of the pronouns. Okay, so she's not a place, she's a person or a thing. Let's just call her it. Okay, it.
And I also want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible.
Hold on. Interest payments on car loans tax deductible. So you pretty much. Come on, man. Listen.
But only if the car is
made in America.
Hey.
What's wrong with that? Made in America, baby. Made in America.
And the next thing.
So what I'm saying is, listen, we have to really figure this thing out. As American people, we got to figure this thing out. And his address was actually popular amongst American people. So I'm gonna go ahead and play you a snippet of the press secretary. She pretty much came with the stats because most of American people really, enjoyed his first address. The only people that are mad are the Democrats, and we're going to call them the Democrats moving forward because this is a party of the devil, Satan, serpent, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, there's a mass exodus. We saw that in the last election, and pretty much the party is over. It's done. Trump was the biggest threat to their democracy. So the biggest threat is finding fraud and everything else that's going on. But let's just go ahead and I'm going to let you hear a snippet of what the press secretary said about the address.
At the speech last night, how could anyone possibly be opposed to any of this action that he is taking? Well, apparently the modern party could.
Okay, the modern day Democrat, the modern day demonic party.
The behavior of Democrats last night was completely disgraceful.
Sad.
And demonstrated how severely out of touch they are with the American public. It was the most shameful moment in the history of presidential addresses in that beautiful chamber.
Yeah, what she said.
Was supposed to be a unifying moment for our country. Democrat members of Congress instead screamed at the President of the United States, who was just overwhelmingly reelected by their constituents, walked out of the chair, and worst of all, they disrespected the American people. Democrats didn't stand to keep men out of women's sports. They couldn't even clap.
She says didn't stand to keep men out of women's sports.
For a girl who got her head smashed in by a man volleyball court.
Wow.
Democrats didn't stand for an innocent and beautiful child who is surviving brain cancer.
That was a beautiful moment.
They opposed taxes on tips and Social Security.
Wait. Did she just say that Democrats oppose tax on tips, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on SSI? So that will give relief to the American people, to people who are struggling right now. So she's basically saying that the Democrats oppose this. So how is it that they are for the working class people and they are for the immigrant, the blacks, Latinos, or anybody if they oppose this legislation?
They didn't stand in favor of cutting taxes for hardworking Americans.
He did say cutting tax for everybody, and I mean everybody.
They couldn't even clap for two mothers whose daughters were killed by illegal aliens. One of the only things that could get Democrats off their feet last night for Ukraine. Not for America.
Wow.
Last night was a very clear moment for our country.
Wow.
Democrats exposed themselves as the party of insanity and hate.
And insanity and hate. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. And I'm going to go ahead and add the party of slavery. It never switched. We could debate about it, but it never switched. The Democratic Party is the party of slavery, and that's its original sin. That is the fruit that it bears.
The party that wants to put America last. They've allowed their Trump derangement syndrome to stop them from
She said Trump derangement syndrome. That's crazy.
America, and our people will not allow them to forget that. And it's not just the Democrat Party. The mainstream media still doesn't get it. Last night, MSNBC's Nicole Wallace disgustingly looped in a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer into an attack on the president over January 6th.
Wow.
And CNN's first Chiron out of the speech called it divisive. President Trump wasn't divisive.
No.
The Democrats were. And CNN was proven wrong by their own viewers, 69% of whom, in a post-speech poll, said they had a positive reaction to the president's speech. It's sad and frankly pathetic that Democrats and liberals in the legacy media continue to allow their hatred for the president to override their love for our country. But nevertheless, the president will continue to unify this nation through policies that are grounded in common sense and that uplift all Americans.
And uplift all Americans. So I got to give a hand clap for that, because that's as real as it get. That's as real as it get, because the Democrats, that was embarrassing. That was literally embarrassing. They put on a display and they showed the American people that they are not for America. They are for their donors, for the investors, because clearly when I looked, I confirmed it today. The worst 20 cities in America happens to be the poorest 20 cities in America happen to be Democratic. So when you have a president who's deemed a racist, who want to give tax breaks to all of us, who pretty much want to have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax on Social Security, and give an income tax break for all Americans, that's something that's for all people. But we have to, are pretty much, we really don't know what's going on. But when you are, the original sin of your party is slavery, you don't know how to make that adjustment or to pivot or anything like that. And this is why a house divided can't stand. And I am appalled by the Democrats. And this is why their mass exodus confirmed in the last election. And like I said, the stats are out. Okay. 12 million people decided to not vote at all. And another, 3 million decided to vote down ballot, meaning for a third party option. And then you have Al Green, okay, not the singer Al Green, okay, but this guy, Al Green. Let me see here. And I call him the pimp with the pimp stick. The pimp with the pimp stick. This guy, I don't know who or what he is, but this has been, like I said, it hasn't been this bad. And from a division perspective, we got to understand that the American people, we got to stand up. We got to come together. Okay. And he is a disgrace. Okay. He's an embarrassment. And like I said, and I call him the prehistoric pimp with the pimp stick, because Darwin created what we call the theory of evolution, meaning we evolved from monkeys. You got the monkey and then us, the regular human beings, the Homo sapiens. So we got to really understand what's going on. But tax breaks for all Americans, there's nothing deemed racist about that. And how can a man be racist when, he's pretty much trying to help the American people? His vice president from Ohio. Ohio is one of the poorest states in the union and is a large volume of white people. You got to understand, poor whites support Trump because poor whites are looking at him to change legislation, to change laws, to put more money in their pockets, to bridge the gap when it comes to all of the increases of spending when it comes to inflation. So I'm down with the no tax on tips. I'm down with the no tax on overtime. I'm down with the no tax on Social Security, and I'm down with let's go ahead and abolish payroll taxes and add a half cent or a cent tax to consumption, and we'll make up the difference. Because here in California, we voted for what we call Measure M for the Department of Transportation to build a rail on the Vermont Avenue from Hollywood Boulevard all the way down to the 105 freeway. A 2 cents tax raised $480 million in just 6 months. So now we got to deal with the truth. Okay, now just understand DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. Okay. And if you flip the script, it's literally EGOT backwards. Okay. But all of the fraud and the wasteful spending that Doge is finding is pretty much shining a light, and it's pretty much exposing one of the biggest scandals in global history, not even just American history, global history. So this is why the Democrats are doing whatever they can do to protect their brand. They've been scamming and robbing and not representing the American people from their entire existence. Okay, because if the original sin for the party is slavery, if the original sin for the party is to separate the of slavery, its original sin was the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, pretty much, brought them back into power during the Reconstruction, creating the Vagrancy Law Acts of 1866, which, newly freed slaves went back into slavery and built the entire South back on free labor. The original sin of modern day mass incarceration, who pretty much Joe Biden, the previous president, 46 that we just had, who pretty much got that passed on the House floor at a vote of 96-4. 4 Republicans voted against that bill for mass incarceration. Hillary Clinton went on a campaign pretty much to get it passed and called black men who look like me super predators, and we needed to be brought. And Bill Clinton, the Democratic president, signed that 3 you out back into law. And then what mass incarceration kicked in after that. And it's crazy that we're 6% of the world's population, but we're 40% of prisoners. Yes, 40% of the global prisoners behind bars are in the United States. And if you did not know, 1 out of 3 black men here in the United States have been in jail from a municipal, state, or federal level. Think about that. So Elon Musk with Doge, you got to take your hat off, because they found trillions of dollars of fraud and wasteful spending. President Trump mentioned during the address that there's individuals between the ages of 119 to 300 that's receiving Social Security checks, and they've been getting cashed. And this is where the problem is. Because when they find out what accounts the monies are going to, I'm sure it's going to lead to the Democratic leadership, because it's crazy that a career politician, can actually be worth 10, 15, $20 million in the form of Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters. These individuals are worth millions of dollars, but their annual salaries in their whole career has never capped over $300,000. And this is crazy. So we got to this thing out. Okay, and you guys lit the comment up. Let me see here. I believe don't cut Medicaid, no taxes on Social Security. Okay, clarity. Trump administration has never said that they will cut Medicaid. Okay, pretty much Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, is actually looking into the Medicaid, and they're finding fraud and wasteful. It's not going to stop any Americans' benefits. Any verified American that receive social services, that receive food stamps, that receive any government or federal, it will not stop. But you have, Al Green, historic pimp with a pimp stick, pretty much having to go out there and be a slave to the individuals that actually write the checks to put him in office, to make it seem to justify why they continue to get money from these donors, are scaring the American people by using scare tactics. Democrats are pretty much on 100% defensive right now. Okay. And if you think about the Democratic Party as a whole, there's no leader. You got Hakeem Jeffries, who is the minority speaker, but he is so disconnected, in terms of blackness and the black community, because his whole entire career is stepping and fetching and cooning to the donors. Think about that. Who's the next person to run against whatever Republican that they put up, in force after the Trump administration? And if you did not know, they're pretty much, the Supreme Court is looking at Trump being, earmarked an additional term, because the Constitution says no consecutive terms. Okay, you guys stole the election with Joe Biden. Okay, we found the votes, because if you have deceased individuals receiving Social Security checks in the 1.9 million people, those are 1.9 million Democratic votes could actually fraudulently used to steal that election. But America is back. And if you are American citizen, you need to be of your country. Because when you look at America as a whole, okay, this is the greatest nation in the world. Okay, our Constitution says, domestic tranquility. Our Pledge of Allegiance says to the nation, one nation under God. So we're a God-fearing nation, and our Constitution have in there, in the Bill of Rights, domestic tranquility. So when they talk about tariffs, okay, sometimes you got to go through a transitionary period to get to the next level, but the tariffs are actually good for America. The tariffs are actually good for America. We already had one of the largest semiconductor manufacturers out of the Taiwan pretty much was at the White House this week investing $100 billion to build a plant in Phoenix. You already have Toyota building cars in Indiana, which there will be no tariffs on these Toyota cars. And then Honda have stepped up and they're actually going to build a plant in Indiana, which means more jobs for American citizens, which means cheaper cars. Okay. And it means that we're back. Don't look at the flesh. It's not flesh and blood. It's powers, principalities, evildoers, and places. They tried to blow this man's head off on national television. Okay. And when John Kennedy got his head blown off, it pushed us back. The Civil Rights Acts and all of these bills came into legislation in 1964. And, they put, women's empowerment, LGBTQ immigrants and all of these laws. All he's doing is taking it back, breaking it back down. Can, finish the job and do right by God's people, do right by, what the original promise was, because there was a promissory note promised back in 1865 by Abraham Lincoln. If you did not know, Abraham Lincoln created what we call the Freedmen's Bank. And with the Freedmen's Bank Bureau, it was for the newly freed slave to get land grants, money to invest in property, to buy homes. But due to his assassination, we don't know what happened, because the assassin's bullet clearly changes the trajectory of history. Okay, now to confirm that this is real, Otis Howard was the commissioner of Freedmen's Bank Bureau. So initially, they pretty much did the money and decided to create a historical black institution, or a black college at the time, and named it after Otis Howard. So this is how you got Howard University, named after the white human being, Otis Howard. So we could have these conversations. So now he's pretty much breaking it down. The government has gotten too big. The government has gotten too big, and these are some things that we got to do. So don't be afraid, because God did not create the spirit of fear. He is not the author of confusion. So do not let these elected Democrats, these politicians, to program you, the liberal media and all these things to program you and spin things in a crazy way to have you fearful, thinking that something's going to happen to you. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Shouldn't God's people know God? Absolutely. And we know without a shadow of a doubt, and I'm in the comments right now, we know without a shadow of a doubt the Democrat Party has no God. We know that, because when the address the other night, Trump said, and God bless the United States. But when Biden would speak, he would say, God bless the troops. Okay, think about that. Okay, let me see. Who is God's people? Who is God's people? Humans, the least of these. The Bible says neither Jew, Greek, Gentile. God loves everybody who makes the choice to repent of their sins and do their best to love God with their heart, mind, and soul. Secondly, love their neighbor as they love themselves. First of all, you got to love yourself first, because a suicidal individual will unalive you and themselves just to prove a point. Okay, because God is in control. He's always been in control, and we're going to figure this thing out. And somebody put ketchup on the ear. So I was pretty much like, for me, and I'm speaking to happy endings. I was thinking, and I did my own investigation as well, but it was confirmed there were shots fired. 2 people lost their lives, and he actually invited the family. Okay, the wife and the 2 daughters of the individual who actually, one of the individuals who got killed, they was at the presidential address this week as well. So shots were fired. There's a large conspiracy going on. There's an opposition side that don't want you to believe the truth or anything like that. But if you look at American history, this is why he says that if it was ketchup on here, he's pretty much using that to get close to God, because he said that he believed God's life to pretty much change America. And if you look at the Bible uses just one man to do great things. You could look at Abraham, look at Moses, you could look at Noah, you could look at Daniel, you could look at John, and I could go on and on and on. So, and it also says that in the book of Corinthians that God will use a fool to compound the wise. Okay, but right now we know the wise are ignorant and really don't understand what's going on. And it is what it is. So, and like I said, Trump is the president of the United States. And as an American citizen, that pretty much was. And I've been watching these things my entire adult life. We were forced to watch it in college, from a political science perspective, and do papers and things like that. This address shows us that America is back. When you have a president that wants to have tax breaks for every human being, that no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That's an individual that wants to help everyone. Think about that. He wants to help everyone. And regardless, if you don't agree, it's not the messenger, but the message is good. Because when they talk about, changing, when he talks about changing the Gulf of Mexico of America, I don't have a problem with that. I actually like that. He talks about taking back the Panama Canal. There's no foreign entities, Russians or Chinese or Japanese, should be anywhere near America. So we don't have a problem with that. The American people don't have a problem with that. The polls are showing that only 20% of American people disagree with what Trump is doing. That's a great minority. Okay. And a minority does not trump. Okay. When he talks about purchasing Greenland from a strategic perspective. Okay, they used to think the world was flat. Well, the world is round now. So just think about a ball, Greenland at the top of it. Just think from a strategic perspective, from a security perspective, we will have eyes on the world. Think about that. Think about that. And as an American citizen, a nonpartisan, not a Republican or a Democrat, I love this country. My ancestors fought for this country, and our job is to pretty much stand up in these days and time and accept this gift that God has given us, which is the present, and to make sure we put some things into fruition that's going to be beneficial for our children's children. It is what it is. It is what it is. So with that being said, let me see here if I got any comments. Let me see. You guys just went on and did y'all thing. So hit that like, hit that notification, hit that subscription. And pretty much I need 2 likes to get to 50. That'll be my record on likes when it comes to, my live streams. But it is what it is. Somebody put in, Joel Waters put in, tax cuts for those making over $30,000. No, see, these are the and I got to do this for Joel. For Joel. See, these are the lies. That's the propaganda. I'm going to basically break this down and show you from the horse's mouth in terms of what this man said. He didn't say anything about tax breaks for the rich. Listen to this, and then I'm gonna get out of here. Check this out.
Phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy
the greatest economy in American history.
Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody.
Tax cuts for everybody. He didn't say tax cuts for rich and wealthy. He didn't say tax cuts for his billionaire friends. He said tax cuts for everybody.
They're in there, they're waiting to vote, and I'm sure that the people on my right.
And he's talking about Democrats. So you Democrats out there, your elected officials oppose tax breaks on everybody because they lie to you and talks about tax breaks for the rich and wealthy, because the Democrats are the demonizers. Okay, they're the Democrats and they're the demonizers. So they want to demonize the wealthy who have no payroll taxes, who just put $1, because when it says earned income, they don't put anything. Okay, but he's talking about tax breaks for everybody. Listen to this, man.
Of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody.
Tax cuts for everybody. And now as American people, we are aligning ourselves as presidential oversight, and the people, we the people, will hold the president accountable. Not our elected official, not these Democrats who do not love America, and all they do is steal money and pretty much just, get themselves on top of the game.
They're in there, they're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise...
Will the Democrats vote for the tax cuts for all Americans? Will the Democrats vote for tax cuts for all Americans? Not the billionaires, all Americans.
Tax cuts for everybody.
Everybody.
They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor.
So if they don't vote for these tax cuts for everybody, let's boycott the Democratic Party and end it as a whole, because the party of slavery should not even exist. To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. We are a God-fearing constitutional republic.
Favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax.
And these are your racist Republicans that's going to be voting for tax cuts for everybody.
Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan.
A very big part of his plan. Tax cuts for everybody. Everybody.
We're seeking permanent income tax cuts.
Permanent income tax cuts for you wage earners. Think about it. Permanent income tax cuts.
All across the board.
And confirming that fact, he brought capital gains taxes down to 20% his first term and is back up to 49%. So pretty much if you get $1 million, you got to give half of that up. Think about that.
And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips.
Hold up. No tax on tips. That's the working class.
No tax on overtime.
That's the working class.
And no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
So that means our seniors will get a 20% raise immediately on every SSI check that they get, a 20% increase. And this is the racist person that's doing it. Think about that. Don't believe these Democrats. And look at the House divided. A house divided can't stand, will not stand. And look at these Democrats on the other side of the aisle, literally, not feeling it because they want you to be broke, busted, and disgusted. They want to hoodwink you, bamboozle you, and keep you led astray, and to keep you dumb. Because if they can't do that, and if you pay attention, then you won't need them anymore, in which we are realizing this is the party of slavery, the party of mass incarceration, the party of poverty, the party of fraud and wasteful spending, and their careers are pretty much over. And it's sad that their entire lives they worked, and we thought that they were something special, to end up being in a situation where they will pretty much perish in vain. And look at this Palestinian woman. Let's keep it 100. Okay. If you can't read it, it says, start by paying your taxes. I just told you a rich and wealthy person do not have earned income. That's a box that just put $1 or zero because they're rich and wealthy. They don't have a payroll job like the working class in which the president is trying to help out. Look, what is that? What is that? Okay. Trump took away the pronouns. So she's not a place, she's a thing, but let's just go ahead and call her a thing. So let's refer to her as it.
And I also want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible.
Everybody got a car note. Think about it. Interest that you're paying on your car, you can actually claim that on your taxes to get more of that back.
But only if the car is
made in America.
Made in America.
Let's go. Buy an American. Drill, baby, drill. Let's go. So listen, man, I'm going to end on that note. So America is back. Okay, we people are standing up. We are turning our back on the Democratic Party. We're standing up. We're going to provide what we call oversight for the American people because the Constitution says we the people. We don't need these senators. We don't need the elected officials because clearly they work for the opposition and they have declared themselves as the opposition party. And in closing, the Democratic Party is a party of slavery. The Democratic Party is the party that separated from the Union because they wanted to preserve human beings that look just like me to continue to be their slaves. And also, the Democratic Party is the party that blew the head off or assassinated Abraham Lincoln, created what we call the Vagrancy Acts of 1866, which was actually 2 weeks after the end of the Civil War, which pretty much put black newly freed slaves back into slavery with the ball and chain and rebuilt the South on free labor. Fast forward, Bill Clinton, the Democratic president, he signed into law 3 strikes and you out. They went on record and said that that was one of the worst things that they could have done. It totally decimated the black community. It pretty much targeted the black man and everything. When you really look at history, 1 out of 3 black men somehow find themselves behind bars when it comes to municipal, which is city, state, or federal prison. And we are signed into law by Bill Clinton. We have 40% of the world's prisoners, but we're only 6% of the world's population. Let that sink in. That's the Democratic Party. So when you call Trump racist, just think about it. There's no racist that wants to, that don't want to tax your tips, that want to give, no tax on overtime, want to help Social Security. Think about that. That wants to have income tax breaks, mandatory income tax breaks for all Americans. Think about that. So we got a job to do. A house divided cannot stand. We're going to come together as the American people outside of these Republicans and Democrats. We can and we will be the change in history to change the trajectory of this nation. Because the only way we can end racism is if we accept one race, and that's the human race. And with that being said, hit that like, hit that notification, hit that subscription. I'm your man, Bushion Glover, signing out with a Better Black America TV. You guys have an amazing day. Peace out.